Right, well it's February, and quite often one of the first things you think about sowing are parsnips. If you look on the seed packet, it will tell you to sow from February onwards. But parsnips have got a bit of a reputation for being hard to germinate, and one of the reasons is cold soil. So you can imagine if you start to sow too early and you're in a cold area, they're just not going to come up. Now your soil needs to be about 45 degrees, and you can tell that by either feeling it, but obviously not very accurate. So you could get yourself a soil thermometer, just a long thin thermometer you can put in the ground just into the surface. Once the surface is at about 45 degrees you can sow. Now we're in the East Midlands, and normally you'd say that's going to be at some time in March or even April before you'd sow. Parsnips do like a nice long growing season to get those nice big long roots, so you need to sow early. I normally put mine in March, but February too early for me. So as I say, unless you're in a nice warm part of the world, I wouldn't sow until March. Obviously you can sow in the normal way, just in a drill as we've made here, and you'd sow the seeds about an inch apart, and then gradually thin them over as they develop, until you get to about 4 inches apart, and then let them grow on and mature. Once you get to about August, then you can harvest some as baby roots, let the rest grow on. And obviously, as you'll all know, parsnips very hardy, they'll just sit in the soil right the way through the winter until you need them. But if you still have problems in germinating your parsnips, a few other things you can do, as well as sowing them in a drill like this, and just putting them straight into the soil, you can make a bigger drill and then fill it with compost and sow onto that. So sort of a multi-purpose compost is good, or a seed sowing compost. Just gives them a slightly better environment to germinate in. Another thing you can do is just get yourself a metal pole or a dibber. It's an old broken spade handle which I use for things like planting leeks and also for this. And if you push it into the soil, if your soil's nice and loose like this is, just push it down and give it a wiggle. You make a sort of cone-shaped hole that you can then fill with soil. Just fill with compost like that. Then you can sow a couple of seeds on the top, just lightly cover it again with a bit more compost, and then carry on like that about 4 inches apart down the row. And again, that does two things: gives them a nice compost to germinate in, which is perhaps a little bit better sometimes than the garden soil. It tends to warm up a bit quicker. Also, you've made a nice conical shaped channel in the soil. If you've got stony soil, quite often the roots of your parsnips and carrots as well will fork, and that gives them a nice channel to grow down into, and you get nice straight roots. And one final thing, if you still have problems, you can pre-chip the seeds, which all that means is you actually germinate them before you put them in the ground. And all you need to do is get something watertight, like this old Tupperware box, something similar, bit of kitchen towel in the bottom, give it a spray to wet it so it's thoroughly soaked, but there's no sort of water floating in there. Get your parsnip seeds. Got white gem here, which is quite a nice old variety. Nice big seeds, so they're easy to handle. And then just slightly scatter those over the top. Like that. Thinly as you can. Then just give them another spray to wet them, and then if you've got a lid for your container, put the lid on just to keep them moist, or if not, you can put them in a plastic bag. Don't need light to germinate, or they're not affected by light. It doesn't matter if you put them in the light or the dark, but that'll just keep them moist. And just put them somewhere warm, like an airing cupboard or something like that, take them out every day, give them another spray, and pretty soon you'll see tiny little roots developing on the seeds. And as soon as the little roots germinate, then they're ready to put in the soil. And it's just a way of seeing which seeds are viable and which ones aren't. So you might find that some never germinate, and obviously you won't sow those, but it just gives them a head start somewhere nice and warm, not too warm, so just a gentle heating and airing cupboard or something like that, or even on a windowsill. Doesn't have to be a sunny windowsill, just a windowsill indoors without too much heat, too much sunshine. And so they'll germinate normally within a week, and they're ready to then just sow outside. Don't leave them for too long, otherwise the little roots get very long and they're easily damaged. So that's just a few ways of improving germination on your parsnips.